Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 3 in a best of 3 series between NightEnd and Mouse Strelok here on Lost Temple. This is Lost Temple, not Shattered Temple. We have Mouse Strelok spawning as the red Terran player at the 3 o'clock position. Meanwhile, NightEnd spawning as the purple Protoss here at the 12 o'clock position. And this will be a little bit more of a perhaps a macro game, since it is going to be a cross spawn and both players will be forced to find each other, and it is going to take a little bit of time. Based upon what I've seen in the earlier strategies, I believe Mouse Strelok will be opening up with a barracks into double marines, and after the double marines adding on a tech lab, and then training up one reaper to do a little bit of harassment and also try to stop any early zealot push and then expand. NightEnd, on the other hand, he will most likely open up with what, pylon, gateway, pylon, cybernetics core, another pylon at the 22 food mark, and then perhaps a gateway robotics facility. Robotics facility is working out really well, especially in this type of matchup with these spawning locations, as the observer is really able to get inside the base of your opponent early and then stay there as long as you keep track of that observer and make sure that there is no missile turret being built underneath it. Probe, now making its way out, is going to go ahead and scout in the counterclockwise direction. It will take him about another minute or so, or a minute and a half, before he does find his opponent. And then by that time, a Marine should already be out, and Strelok has to feel very comfortable at this stage, knowing that his opponent is not going to be able to scout him out for a little bit of time. And so just has to wait for it. One or perhaps even two Marines could be trained in time, as we should be upgrading to an orbital command. Don't know why he has so many SCVs queued up in there. There you go, training up a Marine now and also upgrading to an orbital command. SCV now also making the trek out, and it looks like that SCV knows that it is not going to be an ally spawn because the probe has not yet entered its base. So he's gonna do a quick flight spawn or a quick cross spawn on the same side of the gorge, and the SCV, even though it left about 70 seconds later than that probe, the SCV is going to be able to scout out his opponent faster based upon the timing and knowing that there was no probe. The probe now going to simply walk up this ramp. The Marine and going to be able to shut down that probe there, and the probe not even turning around, down it goes. As that scouting probe has been taken down, there is going to be a zealot now coming out. As soon as Chrono Boost the Warp Gate and then Chrono Boost the Stalker out of there in just a moment, as the SCV continues to wander around. The SCV has already taken some damage, needs to get the heck out of there. Where's that Reaper? No Reaper yet. Going for a Marauder. Okay, so changing it up this time around, not going for an early Reaper, instead going for a Marauder, and now out moves a Zealot. Zealot gonna activate the Xel'Naga Watchtower and just sit there pretty close by for quite some time. SCV, on the other hand, gonna activate, no, not activating that Xel'Naga Watchtower, hiding in the brush over here, and perhaps gonna try to sneak into the base at some point later on and do a little bit more scouting. There is already a Stalker by NightEnd waiting in wait just in case there is a Reaper that comes up this back door. There is not going to be a Reaper though, as Marauders are now being trained instead. The Marauder doing a quick scan of his own base, making sure that there were no hidden proxy pylons, as that one probe did scout relatively late. There is that factory and another refinery coming in, and this is going to be a reactor, so this is going to be 2 racks, 1 tech lab, 1 reactor, Marines and Marauders being trained out of that location, as the SCV going to try to wander back in once again. A Stalker, however, going to be there to meet and greet it. Down it goes, and really Strelok has no real idea what's coming in, and now NightEnd changing it up, going for a 4-gate. So a 4-gate push now underway. There is 1 bunker, but that bunker is in a little bit of a precarious situation, as sentries on the low ground are going to be able to easily force field back with Guardian Shields and push away any SCVs that try to repair that bunker. And what Strelok needs to do is Strelok needs to make sure that he gets a strong enough army in order to counter this, as a factory now lifts off in order to do some scouting. So more Marauders and Marines are going to be continuing to be trained out of this location here. And then if Strelok wanted to, he could lift off this starport, grab the reactor, and then try to double train medevacs and then do a very early drop, but with only stim pack. There are Stalkers now down over here, and now the army of NightEnd is much stronger. in terms of mineral and gas, so he should be able to move out pretty easily. He can see that there is a 4-gate coming in, and now he has to be concerned. He knows that the aggression will be coming in just a moment. There is a pylon down over here. Don't understand why the pylon perhaps wasn't built closer to this ledge, and the zealots are going to try to walk up, but there are no sentries. That is a big surprise that there are no sentries in this group at all. A Guardian Shield would have done miracles, as a Nexus now being placed down over here by NightEnd. Back over here, a factory still flying around, and Strelok may not suspect that an expansion is currently in the works by NightEnd. Normally, when you see 4-gate, the 4-gate is generally done off of one base play, and an expansion is not placed down that early. But by placing the expansion over here, unless Strelok keeps track of the map and keeps track of this expansion, he is not going to be able to do all too much, as Marauders and Marines are now dropping straight into the base over here. Stalkers are trying to come in and greet it, and now that medevac taking a fair amount of damage, or no, only taking 1 round of an attack, or 2 rounds of attack from 2 stalkers, or 1 stalker, excuse me, and the medevac able to return home. The factory just hanging around over here. A Nexus gonna be placed down here. NightEnd knowing that he has to place down a Nexus in order to keep up the illusion that he is only running off of 1 base right now, or to expand. And now we also see that the command center is being placed down as well. So Marines and Marauders are being positioned here, and they are going to be able to move out. The longer this game goes, I definitely favor NightEnd now, and the longer this game goes, just because NightEnd is in a situation to get a very strong economic lead. NightEnd, now chrono boosting this Nexus, wants to get as many probes into this set of mineral patches. He doesn't want to actually transfer any. If he transfer them, he may tip his hand and let his opponent know that he does have an expansion over on that side of the map. Marauders and Marines now continuing to make the trek over to medevacs. A lot of Marauders and a lot of Marines. There are some Stalkers and Zealots. The Zealots do not have that Zealot leg upgrade just quite yet, and this is maybe problematic. The Stalkers and Sentries and Zealots need to try to fend off that attack, and there cancels the Nexus, realizing that he cannot defend it. And now perhaps going to get a force field onto that ramp right there. Going to take down another pylon. So another pylon, stopping the research on that Twilight Council for just a little bit of time before that a new pylon is able to warp in and also continue to empower that matrix, or power the buildings once again. Marauders and Marines, there's that force field. So NightEnd just using that force field, trying to buy himself time. I believe he will have enough for another force field, maybe 2 more if he spaces out, or sorry, he does have enough for 2 more, maybe 3 or 4 more if he spaces out those force fields long enough. Army-wise, 2600 versus 2175. Strelok has to feel very, very comfortable, not realizing that NightEnd is queuing up a lot of probes out of this location. He is currently supply locked, though, at 84 over 84, as a drop now happening on the backside of the base. Sentries need to stay over here, dropping in another force field, and now the Zealots and Stalker is just going to hide out over here as well. Perhaps 1 to 2 photon cannons would have been enough. So Colossus and now Stalker Blink currently being researched. The Marines and Marauders still holding on to this location, as Strelok establishing his own expansion. The Marauders realizing, and the medevacs realizing, that they do not want to stay too long outside of this base. If they did stay too long, eventually a NightEnd would find a way to counter those units, as Stalker Blink now being researched, the Blink now being researched. Zealots already have charged, as a Nexus is getting replaced once again. Strelok has to feel very comfortable thinking that he is ahead economically. Production-wise, you can see what a Dark Shrine now coming into play, but there is also a missile turret being built. So that front door is going to have enough detection to try to stage off any attacks. There is 1 Stalker by this Zelnaga Watchtower here, another main army by this Zelnaga Watchtower, and we'll see what's going to be happening as those Vikings are just on patrol in between these 2 bases. There is going to be an observer now finally making it inside the base, and NightEnd needs to figure out what his opponent is exactly up to. He's going to see pretty much the production buildings, see that more barracks are coming into play, and an additional Ghost Academy. This expansion over here now by NightEnd has enough probes, a decent number of probes, and now it's going to start to get some gas as well. So we are going to have NightEnd running off of 3 bases in just a moment, but Strelok still has a superior economy just because he has those mules, and he already had some of the SCVs from the main base transferred over. One missile turret here as well, getting some additional supply depots, making it difficult for any units to run along the backside as those probes finally are able to make it to the natural expansion 14 minutes into this game. So 14 minutes in, and now in comes this medevac, and that medevac gonna quickly see that there is an expansion here, and now NightEnd, with nothing to really spend it on, now gonna warp in some zealots, but that is not gonna be enough. Also a stalker coming into play. Zealots with zealot charge probes should be coming off the mineral line to try to help. Not quite sure why they are not there. As that stalker, more units are now coming in as well. That zealots are continuing to just slice through that. There we go. The zealots do have zealot charge, able to close in on that distance. The stalker wants to just shut down that medevac. The medevac is now down. One stalker against 3 marines. That stalker does have base 1 armor, but those marines are going to be able to finish it off. In comes the main battle over here. There are some force fields that were laid down. And what are the losses showing us? The losses show that NightEnd did lose a little bit more there, but the probes finally getting the memo in order to engage. And now in comes a new drop. So Strelok going to drop in more units, as there are a lot of units over here, but that's going to be a little bit of an issue, as NightEnd's main army now has less to deal with in the center of the map. There is one observer there, and now more zealots and units are now trying to come in. The marines, and now more zealots are still trying to warp in. It looks like the stutter stuff is actually working very, very well for Strelok, as now the units are going to be walking around back over here. There is a large number of zealots sitting here, and now the main marauder and marine army is coming in. This is going to be a problem, as Strelok may be able to split the armies once again. Stalker is able to finish this off here, and down goes that last medevac and that last marine there. So we may have another perhaps elevator drop into this location, as Strelok now desperately realizes that he is not ahead in the game by all too much. In fact, he is behind economically 1,500 minerals compared to 1,100 minerals at this time, as the Dark Templars are now running around inside his opponent's base. SCVs are now going to turn around and try to fight back. No, trying to repair this one missile turret. The missile turret now down to 105 hit points already, as the Dark Templars just continuing to slice around, getting more and more damage in, as the Dark Templars finally fall to the fusion cutters of those SCVs. SCVs did have the level 1 armor upgrades, but I don't think it's going to matter. And now in comes the main fight here, as we now have more zealots coming in. So zealots are now coming in, and now stalkers are also coming in as well. In comes an EMP shockwave hitting the majority of that group, as the stalkers perhaps could start blinking. Zealots now trying to charge in as well. Dark Templars, no, zealots now trying to run in. And this is going to be a very difficult situation, as these marines and the marauders should be able to finish off this. The SCV, the probes need to engage, otherwise they're not going to be able to deal all too much damage. Many of these marauders and marines are already low on hit points, and many of those probes have already been shut down already. Back over here, Dark Templars now being warped in as well, up onto that high ground. And this is a crazy game now, folks. Both players trying to destroy their opponent's base, but NightEnd does have this expansion here and pretty well set up as well, but there is a much larger army of marauders and marines. Dark Templars now quickly getting scanner sweeped and revealed, trying to run away. It looks like that Dark Templar will live to fight another day, waiting for the scanner sweep. Oh, the scanner sweep lasting 1 to 2 seconds long enough for it to fall. Dark Templars now continuing to come in over here. Ghost now trying to come in. Dark Templars need to finish off some of those other units. SCVs getting some more kills as this battle goes back and forth, and I think it is going to be enough the army-wise. 3950 over here, but there's a lot of stalkers now trying to take down this last nexus. Stalkers are going to come off. Probes need to attack. Probes could just one-shot many of those marines, and not quite sure why they didn't do that. And now just an army of stalkers here. Income wise, 900 versus 560. The probes should all transfer into this location here, perhaps set up a couple additional buildings, as the Vikings are still patrolling there. Marauders, and now one zealot just trying to look in between multiple locations as well. Yeah, 3,000 mineral army, 1,200, only a group of stalkers is left. More marauders, marines, and ghosts are still being trained, and there's the GG from NightEnd. So NightEnd unable to take the game. A really back and forth game here, unconventional, really unconventional styles of play, but it was still a very exciting and close game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay and game 3 in this best of 3 series between Strelok and NightEnd. Congratulations to Mouse Strelok.